Yeah, hi friends. This is Wasim Ahmed. I am the health and safety consultant, lead trainer. I am a approved trainer and assessor for NEBOSH qualification. I have completed 54 successful sessions of NEBOSH IGC, and today we are here to discuss one of the most important topic which everyone is asking, which is NEBOSH IGC 1 open book examination. We'll be discussing some tips and tricks to pass the exam, and you'll be getting a detailed idea how you need to approach the exam, how you will be looking at scenario, how you are going to collect information about the scenario, how you are going to make summaries out of that scenario, and finally you will be reading out the questions and you are going to come up with the information required in the question to be filled. So we'll be looking at all of these tips and tricks, and this is not only single video, there are 5 more videos following this video where we will be discussing all 5 questions NEBOSH has recently uploaded on their website as a sample exam. So guys, stick to the videos. Hope you would enjoy and you would get some better idea on solving the exams. Let's start. Yeah, hi friends, this is Wasim Ahmed with you, and in today's video we'll be looking at how to solve NEBOSH IGC1 open book examination. Luckily we got this examination uploaded by NEBOSH, the awarding body itself, so no more ambiguities how an open book exam would look like. The second challenge we all have now is how to solve these exams, how to get maximum marks in the exam. So this video is all about tips and tricks to pass NEBOSH IGC1 open book exam, and I came up with a series of videos. So we'll be solving all the 5 questions given by NEBOSH recently, and just stick to the videos and hope these videos will help you to understand some tips and tricks to pass the exam. Guys, in my earlier videos, we talked a lot about NEBOSH open book exam, scenario-based questions, and different things. Just a quick recap, NEBOSH open book exam would be scenario-based exam, and NEBOSH might not ask you direct questions as they used to ask earlier. For example, what are the steps involved in risk assessment? And people used to write 5 steps of risk assessment, or they used to ask you what are the steps involved in accident investigation procedure, and people used to write like certain points directly. Now things are changing. Now you will be given a real life scenario. It can be from a construction environment, from a food manufacturing environment, from an oil and gas environment, and you need to read out the whole scenario, and you will be looking at the questions given by NEBOSH out of that scenario. While answering those questions, your approach will be different since the knowledge is not a big deal. You will be having a lot of knowledge base using your book, digital media, other media. So, no need to memorize things, guys. You need to keep your concepts clear. Understanding of the question is the key, and you need to connect that knowledge base with your answers while answering questions using scenario. So NEBOSH assessor will be mainly looking at your approach on how you are understanding the scenario and what you are going to do in that typical scenario. So friends, here are some of the techniques to solve open book examination. And before moving forward, I want to make few things clear here. Guys, you are not time barred. You will be getting 24 hours for this exam rather as compared to 2 hours to solve 11 questions earlier. Now you will be getting 24 hours. So there's a plenty of time. You don't need to worry about the information and memorization part of the information as we used to do earlier. People used to remember a lot of things and they were wasting time in those things. You have access to any kind of resource within those 24 hours. So these two things must be very much clear. And the most important point here is to pass the exam and to get good marks. You need to make yourself very well aware of the scenario provided by NEBOSH in the exam. This scenario would be 1 or 1.5 page scenario. It will be a real life condition or situation where they will discuss certain things in that scenario. You need to read out the scenarios minimum 2 to 3 times to make yourself very well aware of the scenario. and you need to highlight some of the major points in the scenarios to keep those points in mind, so that later when you see the question you can easily connect the answers to the scenario, because as I told you, you will have information provided by NEBOSH on a typical scenario. The question will be asked with regards to that scenario, but no need to worry that NEBOSH will be going out of syllabus somewhere, or they might be bringing up some questions from out of the book or something. They have a very limited resource for questions, and the resource is only your book, which is approved by NEBOSH. The only change here is they change their style now, and you need to put your foot down to understand the scenario and the question. The person who will understand the question very well will be able to provide the adequate information in answers. So you need to keep your approach in the right direction, in the right timing, in the right amount of the information you are going to provide. So once you look at the scenario, give it a read 2 to 3 times, properly read it out, highlight major concerns. Now these major concerns, there are a lot of information provided. You might get some information on people, equipment, environment, activities, or a typical condition where you have an incident, accident, near miss. You need to collect all that information. Even you can do a rough work on a rough sheet, and you can develop a summary of the scenario where you are listing down all the important points. Once you have a grip on the scenario, guys, half of the thing is done. Now the rest of the half of the thing is your understanding with the question, what examiner is asking in the question, and doing a proper mind mapping on answers. Now you need to develop a mind map where you will be thinking what is the information being asked, what are the most critical and important things you need to discuss on top, on header of the question in the body, then what you should discuss in the middle part, and then the closing part of the question. So this is very important. For example, you will be using some moral, legal, financial arguments in the beginning. Use of facts and figures, use of references from different websites is the key, where you highlight, where you attract the attention of the examiners, and you have to motivate them to read your question and all answers down there. So the first 2 paragraphs of your answer are very important, and you need to make your point in those first 2 paragraphs using the right information. Guys, no need to write stories in your answers. As I told you, there is unlimited information available. You can write down anything from anywhere, but you need to keep in mind the most important thing, which is your word count. Word count requirement should be kept in mind. Total numbers, total marks awarded to the question must be kept in mind, and then only you have to provide adequate information within those limitations. Writing 3 to 4 pages is not a big deal, since you have the information in hand, and you are not going to memorize anything, but you will have handy information. So it's not a big deal to write 4, 5, 6 pages answers. But the ultimate key is you are given a word count restriction. You need to stick to that. There is no negative marking if you are writing more even, but the only negativity in this is that you are going to lose the attention of assessor. When he will see such a big answer, he might not give time to it. He might not be reading out all things. So there is no need to put your effort in answering very long. You need to stick to the word count requirement also. Finally, once you prepare your answer, recheck it, read it. If you need to fix few things up and down here and there, fix them accordingly, and make sure that you stick to the word count requirement. Guys, as we discussed earlier in the previous slide, you will be given a scenario by NEBOSH. So I put forward here on this slide the real scenario given by NEBOSH in this exam, which was uploaded recently by NEBOSH. So you can either highlight using highlighter major issues as it is done in this example here, or you can take notes separately on your notepads, and you can come out with the major key points which are discussed in the scenario. As I told you, you can collect information on people, equipment, material, environment, activities. All this information should be kept handy. Also, with regards to the incidents, accident, near misses, or any case they discussed, you need to take out all this information as it is done here in this example here. So your grip on scenario will decide whether you know things mentioned in the scenario or not, because this is your base. This is the information you are going to utilize in answering your questions. So you need to be very much clear on the scenarios. So guys, here in this slide, I have highlighted some of the points taken from scenario, and it is very clearly mentioned in the scenario that contracts manager has a reputation of being irritable. He is not mingling up with people only. You can see him sometimes while arriving or leaving, and even if you are able to contact this guy, his behavior is not good. He is abusive. If you are going to interrupt him and inform him about something wrong at site or any safety observation or condition, he is not much interested in health and safety related matters. So it shows poor management commitment and safety leadership. So I assigned one headline to this guy's behavior. Since he is the management on the site, his commitment is very weak. His safety leadership is very weak. So I have taken out this point and I have assigned one heading to this: poor management commitment, poor safety leadership. Taking out another point, which is a piece of information in the scenario, is that there is an unsafe condition, which is parking area, because parking area is not properly designed. Even there is no risk assessment done in the parking area. Even people are not instructed or trained how to park in that area. Sometimes if the parking is full, people are blocking the other cars by parking behind those cars. So these are showing us all unsafe conditions, poor risk assessments, parking, and even the poor behaviors of people towards health and safety. Looking at the third point here, which is near miss, unsafe act, poor safety behavior, it is clearly described in the scenario that one of the reckless driver was reversing the car and he hardly missed one of the other fellow walking behind, so he was unattentive. Even the person who was walking behind was walking in parking area, was not very much attentive. And then they had exchange of angry arguments and all that. So all of these things are highlighting poor behaviors towards health and safety at site. Also, it's a near miss. Luckily he escaped from an accident, and there was an unsafe act also by a driver also and the person who is walking in the area. So I've taken out these 3 points from scenario, and we've taken out some other points we'll be discussing in the next slide. So guys, if you look at this slide, another highlighted concern, another point I've taken out from the scenario is repeated incidents and poor reporting and investigation. So if you look at the scenario information, it is clearly mentioned in this scenario that there are so many times these kind of incidents are repeating and no actions have been taken by management. So it shows again poor safety commitment, poor leadership and all that, because nobody cares on all of these near misses. It is repeating, and that all the repeating near misses are indication of poor safety culture, poor safety behavior. And people are also not much interested in reporting the accidents. Management is not interested in investigating the accidents. So overall, poor safety culture prevails in the organization, and they are not much concerned about health and safety related matters. Some of the employees are saying that they are not going to report the incident because they have a fear of being blamed. They might be penalized on that. The same worker is saying that he has reported many times incidents, but no action have been taken. So the morale of people is down also. towards health and safety, since management is not taking any decision. Also, there is no consultation arrangement in the organization. Even after reporting these incidents, there was no. They also told that there is a formal health and safety discussion between workers and managers. Since long time, nobody was consulted on these matters. So this point is another important point. And another point which I have taken out is poor safety culture, management commitment. So when you started discussing the matter with one of the worker and the operations manager, their behavior was strange, and you asked for their opinions. The worker who got stuck, who was about to get hit by the vehicle, he came up with a suggestion that vehicles should be parked in the worst position in the parking area, which is one of the good suggestion he made. Since there is no consultation arrangement within the organization, such kind of opinions are not given much importance because people cannot describe these opinions towards management. When it was discussed with the manager, his behavior was totally negative towards health and safety, and he was saying that many times such incidents are happening, but nobody got injured, so it's not a big issue. And let people sort these issues out by their own way. So this is not at all acceptable behavior at site when we talk about the management. So another time we came up with a poor safety culture and management commitment heading here looking at the situation. Guys, there are some other highlighted concerns in the scenario. As you can see here, unsafe condition, poor lighting arrangement, poor reporting arrangement. So it is clearly mentioned in the scenario that the lighting arrangement in the parking area is very poor, and they are heavily relying on only those floodlights which are mounted in the head office area. So no lights in the parking area, and sometimes when people are coming in the dark timings, they might have a poor visibility issue at site. Nobody has reported this issue, which is one of the major issue with regards to the parking areas. Also, on the time of accident, the lights were not working, so this near miss might be the result of poor visibility issue. Uh, Another highlighted point was poorly communicated HSE policy and lack of management commitment. Upon investigation, when the safety advisor asked the management about health and safety policy, there was no statement of intent developed, there was no policy available. Even on the notice boards anywhere, people were unaware of the policy, health and safety policy. When they investigated from the contracts manager, he came up with a piece of information that policy is available but only for the third party submissions. So again, it shows very poor attitude of management towards health and safety. Even if safety policy is there, it is not communicated well to the concerned people, to the employees down there, and it is only used as a document to be submitted to third parties to get contracts and nothing else. So this is another breach of contract, a breach of regulations, I would say, and that's what the safety guy informed the contract manager, that they are breaching health and safety regulations because their policy is not known to the people down there. So finally, I have highlighted another important point, which is lack of commitment, irregular or missing review frequencies. One of the health and safety management system component is check performance or review performance. So that is a missing part here, and it is very clearly mentioned in the scenario that safety committee meeting was held once 1 year ago, more than 1 year ago, and so we can imagine what kind of safety meetings and committee meetings, and the frequency is, more than 1 year. So we can imagine how they are taking up the health and safety matters within the organization. Even looking at the review of health and safety policy, they mentioned it should be reviewed once in 10 years. So this is also clear breach of health and safety regulations. health and safety policy must be reviewed every year, annually. So, looking at all of this information which we have taken out from scenario, it is very clear that the organization is not committed to health and safety. There is poor safety culture. There is no commitment by management. Guys, this is how you need to take out important points from the scenario and list down so that you keep this information handy while discussing in the answer part of the questions. So friends, after completion of our base work, which is getting information on scenario and making summary of scenario and highlighting some major points of scenario, now here is a question, first question asked by examiner here. And even the good point about the way they came up now with the questions is they even tell you from which part of your health and safety management system they are asking you questions. So they came up with a question. They said task one is discussing moral reasons for managing health and safety. So you got an idea by this task information that from which part of your book this question is relating to. The question is, you have been asked to chair the health and safety committee meeting. Before the meeting, you decided that you will open the meeting by reminding everyone of moral expectations of health and safety. Prepare notes of the moral arguments you will use at the meeting. You should support your answer where applicable using relevant information from scenario. So the question is very clear. Now you need to stick to the scenario and you need to first collect some information on moral reasons for health and safety, and you need to relate it with the scenario and answer accordingly. So let's see how we do it. So friends, now we are in a very good position where we already have information on the scenario. We came up with the major points highlighted, and the question is also with us now. So now this is time to do some mind mapping and decide how to move ahead with answering this question. So if we look at the mind mapping I have done here now, as I told you earlier also, you need to come up with some of the solid facts and figures and some of the regulatory references to convince assessor that yes, your argument is quite stronger in that perspective in which he want. And I put here, as per ILO statistics, 2.3 million people get affected from work-related incidents and ill health effects. 6,000 people are dying from work-related incidents. And even you can add up more things, disabilities, ill health effects, and all that. And now by showing this point to assessor, you made a point here that the size of problem is very big around the world. Many people are dying, getting injured, they are getting disabled, and they are getting some ill health effect because of not following health and safety rules and regulations. So this is moral reason basically to protect lives of human beings. So it means people around the world, they are not giving more importance to these moral reasons. That's why the numbers are going high and high. Second point I highlighted here is, as per ILO C155R164, employer is bound to provide safe places, equipment, substances, and safe environments to employees. Health and safety is considered as moral duty of employers. So even the legal boundaries are there, and the law bind all the employers in a binding force where employers have to act safely. They have to provide all the arrangements for their employees where they are protected, fully protected. So this is also one of the moral reasons that employers are morally responsible for the health and safety of their workers and any other stakeholder. Then I said employees join organizations to secure their earnings, not to get injured or dead at site. So again, a moral perspective. Every worker has right to work in an environment which is completely safe in all aspects. This is moral right of worker also. It is moral duty of employees to follow safety rules and regulations set by their employers. Even employee does not have only rights, they have certain responsibility, moral responsibilities to follow rules and regulations set by their employers to ensure safety of others in the area as well as safety of their plant, equipment, buildings, all of those resources which employer is providing. Then I said moral values also guide everyone to behave in a way to avoid non-compliances, follow safety rules, avoiding incidents and losses to their organizations. And finally, I said keeping all above mentioned point in mind and looking at the scenario provided in the question, it is clear that employer, employee, workers, every one of us is morally bound to follow health and safety rules and regulations, to think about health and safety. And if we look at the scenario, employer as well as employees both are bound to keep up their moral values following health and safety rules and regulations. So friends, in our previous slide, we came up with some of the information where we were pointing out safety is a moral responsibility, and we were supporting this concept using different knowledge bases and collecting different type of information. In this slide, we again did some mind mapping, and we went back to scenario, and we took out some information from the scenario to make our point that how health and safety is a moral responsibility which is not being followed by the organization. So looking at these points, guys, look at the first point here. As per scenario, contracts manager has an irritable behavior and is unapproachable. He's not punctual even, and he's using abusive languages and all that. This point clearly shows that management has a very poor attitudes toward health and safety, and even this guy belongs to the management group. They should be showing some commitment to health and safety, which is their moral responsibility, but he failed. Parking area has not been properly designed or risk assessed. Another failure of management where they fail to identify workplace hazards and risks, and this is one of the responsibility of management to provide safe workplaces for their employees. Parking incidents are repeating very frequently and were reported several times, but no action taken by management. Failure of management commitment again. During meeting, operation manager was showing very poor attitudes towards health and safety, saying there is nothing to be worried about, and these type of incidents are happening for a long time repeatedly, and no one was hurt. So let people sort it out. This is again a very poor attitude and behavior by the management, where they are not at all concerned with any moral value in protecting their employees. They are not investigating, they are not reporting incidents. Even workers refuse to report the near miss as they have a fear of being blamed. So again, another indicator of poor safety culture within the organization, and workers, since workers, they are not treated well by management, they might be blamed back on the reported issues, so they are fearful, they are not reporting things. Workers also reported there is no formal discussion on health and safety matters by management since long. So it's a missing safety meetings and commitments and all that. It's a consultation arrangement is not available by the employer. So workers are not in a position to go to a forum where they can discuss these issues and where they can get it solved. Parking area have missing floodlights, and even the floodlights they were using mounted on the office building, they were not working that day. So again, failure to risk assessments and controls. HSE policy is not well communicated within the organization, and contracts manager said it is available, but it is only required to be submitted to third parties. So this is only a paperwork. This is a document being used to get projects only, not being implemented properly within the organization to protect their manpower, to protect their properties, equipments, materials, buildings. This document is not used. Poor management commitment. Our last committee meeting was more than a year ago, and even for health and safety policy, they are mentioning in their policy that it must be reviewed in 10 years. Guys, we all know that these meeting frequencies should be very frequent. Even frequency of review of health and safety policy as per regulations is minimum once in a year. So they are breaching this health and safety regulation by saying 10 years review policy. So these are all points which are supporting our major concern that employer failed to provide, failed to meet their moral obligations. He failed to fulfill health and safety management system requirements. So this is very clear here now out of all of these points. And now finally, once we develop our answers, we need to connect these points to the highlighted information in the earlier slide, and we should come up with one of the conclusion where we make our point in front of examiner and we make our stand clear. So friends, now we are in a position where we are going to the conclusion of the answer. And since we have discussed all the information we need to acquire, we have discussed all the issues related to scenarios, you are in a position now to develop a complete formal reply. Now, at the end of the answer, we need to make a conclusion, and we should say, like, looking at the above points highlighted, organization is involved in clear breach of health and safety rules and regulations. There is no safety culture prevailing in the organization. No one is committed to their moral duties to keep safety at a higher priority, neither employer nor employees. And HSE is first of all a moral duty of everyone. So it's a clear breach and they should improve. So then for the ongoing issues during the meeting, after developing this scenario, after developing this discussion, he can further insist on improving health and safety practices within the organization. So friends, I think the video was useful, and just give me your feedback, and hopefully now you might have understood how to approach NEBOSH IGC 1 open book examination, and how to look at the scenario, how to do your investigation on scenario, how to come up with the summaries to collect some information on scenario, how to acquire further information to formulate your answers, and finally how to connect that information, collected information, with the scenario related problems to formulate your final answers. So hopefully you might have enjoyed this video. Just stay connected, stay tuned. We will be coming up with another video very soon where we'll be discussing second question, and then we'll keep on discussing all the 5 questions later on. So see you guys, have a good time, stay blessed, stay safe. We'll see you in another video. Thank you.